Well, it's your pal, your good buddy, JSnip4. And just for those people, every now and then I realize people say, "Hey, Jason Snip." My first name is Joe. And the J in JSnip4, the letter J is for Joe. But just want to clear that up, just in case there are any misunderstandings. Now, I want to show you something because you'll recall a special number for silver we were waiting to see, $18.88, and I talked about it. Well, first let me show you the chart, this Kitco chart. This is Sunday night. The access market is open, as usual, Sunday night. Approximately 8:52 p.m., as you can see on there on my clock. What do you see right there? Last price. Let's take a little zoom in if we can. 1888, August 21st. Last price, 1888. That is interesting, my friends. That is very interesting. Can I get my view back? Can I get my view back? Maybe not. All right. So, 1888. Cliff High, I think, did an update at the time as well when he kind of talked about the $18.88 for price for silver. And I did a video. This was back in, by the way, the 2016 July Alta report, Webbot report. This particular section is page 28 of 32, where it talks about the 1888. Now, he also came out a little bit later after this report to kind of just reiterate basically what the report was saying. And he said the data had showed that basically by no later than probably the first week of August, which I know we are past that, the data was suggesting that we might see a doubling of the price of silver. That's what the data is saying coming back. But we have to see 1888 first. So naturally, it's August 21st. Certainly no silver doubling by any means. Matter of fact, last few days it's gone down. However, you will recall it's been in the $20 range, $20 and some change. So for it to drop down into the 18s, that's 18s or 18 and some change. That's a sizable drop for a few days. But the Webbot report, I'm looking at it right now, says 1888. Now, I did a video probably roughly 3 weeks ago where I talked about this again because one of my subscribers said, "Hey, look, you know about that 1888 thing with silver and the Webbots?" Yeah. SLV, which is paper silver, hit 1888. I said, no, that's interesting. That is interesting. So I did a video about it saying, hey, I wonder if that's what the Webbot was picking up on with this 1888 price. Because I think even back then, silver was 20, trying to hit $21. It's been hovering around there back and forth. So again, to see it go from 20 to 19 down into the 18 zone, I mean, that's a sizable move. But SLV did that. So I did the video talking about it, giving my opinion and thoughts or whatever, like I always do. But now we actually have silver, not SLV, not paper, but silver, physical silver price, as of me speaking to you right now, is $18.88. So I want to start off. Start off. I've already started off. Let me finish by reading you again page 28, July Webbot or Alta report. The data sets for the price rise in silver specifically have supporting sets that include language around air gaps. These air gaps are the best our descriptors can do to describe the jumps up in relative price in dollars over very short periods of time. whereas the data sets do have descriptors for stair steps. These air gaps are apparently their own form of price action, and he has parentheses, likely not called that by the professional traders. But that, again, he's essentially trying to describe something he doesn't really have a name for, but the data is suggesting, for example, a stair step increase in the stock price, the typical zigzag up, but it's, again, in this fashion of stairs going up, right? A decline stair step is the opposite. Jagged edges like stairs, going down. What he's suggesting by this is these quote unquote air gaps wouldn't be something like do. It would be like, this little nonsense that we've been seeing lately, up $20, 19, $20, 19, 18, and then whoop, off the screen, boom, what just happened? That's not a stair step, that's a massive giant beast step. That, I believe, is what he's talking about when he said this back in July. No stair step like you expect. Gold's rallying. Even back in 2011, what was it, around April or so, when we had the massive price jump, and then of course the crash. You didn't see these quote unquote air gaps. You saw steady price rising and just kept going and going and going. So I think what he's saying now is when this happens, this increase is going to shock everybody because it's not going to be even kind of expected. Oh, we're starting to rally again. Oh, it's up to $20. Oh, it's up to 21. It's up to 22. It's going to be boom. Oh my God, what just happened? I think that's what he's describing here. Okay, so these air gaps have very distinct sets of emotional sums indicating that the jump up in dollar prices will be so large and the gap in the air under the price so huge as to cause traders to faint and to vomit. The former from sheer disbelief, and the latter because they actually do believe it. The data sets are also describing the air gaps as being so large as to create generational fortunes in mere hours. Now, I can tell you how that's going to happen, because you might be saying to yourself, well, what if I've got 2,000 ounces, man? That's a sizable amount of silver to own, to be quite honest with you. And it's $20, and in all fairness, your cost averaged in at $20, just to make this easy to understand and make sense, okay? In other words, every single ounce of that 2,000 ounces costs you $20 a piece, right? 2,000 ounces, $20 a piece, $40,000. Okay. If the price of silver doubles, that doubles, right? 40,000 becomes 80,000. That is not even kind of creating generational fortunes in mere hours. What I'm thinking, now granted, if there's people out there who've got I've got $1 million in silver and whatever in gold, yeah, you're going to be pretty happy. But again, just doubling your money all of a sudden doesn't make a person, have fortunes in mere hours, right? So what I'm thinking, again, the club loves to play their paper game. Paper is leveraged 10 to 1, essentially. You come up with 10%. You play with 100%. So you want to play with 5,000 ounces of silver, just come up with 10% and you can play the game. So if that happens where it's $20, you bought it at 20 and oh my God, it just hit 40. You played with 10%, remember? So your value is about to go up 10 times, whatever it was. I also still understand that even if it was 40,000, you played, again, I'm talking 5,000 ounces. So even 10% of the money is not, you're not getting in for $2,000 to play. But anyways, point being, I think the paper, which means the club, and some traders, because there's plenty of people out there who still play this game, playing with fire, thinking about playing with fire. Look at what it's done over the last few days. It was in the 20s. Now it's down to 1888 tonight. What if you had a contract out today or from Friday? You left it open, didn't close it out. Oh, it's down 30 cents. Oh, possible margin call. I mean, anyway, so I think because of the leverage involved, there's going to be some massive fortunes made. For the rest of us that have physical silver in our possession, it can't just double to give us fortune, to make us fortunes. It has to double, quadruple, go way up. And even if it quadrupled, $20 an ounce times 4, right? Quadrupling, $80. You're not making fortunes. Then again, some people might consider that fortunes. I had $20,000 and I just turned it into $80,000. That's a small fortune. But what I'm gathering from this report, and again, I've already read this one, the summary. There's going to be a big move, and there's going to be some leveraged stuff that's going to make some people filthy rich. At the same time, if there were people holding shorts, oh my God. I finally found the margin call of a lifetime. Yeah, it would be epic. Bankruptcy instantly kind of a thing. Next paragraph says, the data descriptors for silver have 38 as being the only number between 1888, which is also described as a barrier, and the new all-time highs. So, noting that these sets are linguistic and not numeric based, and that the numerals come in via linguistic structures, much as though being reported after the fact, using these numbers, and our psychics bring in the headlines, and thus the numbers, the 38 number for silver is especially interesting as it has a correlation via crosslinks over to the Bitcoin sets. This correlation would have Bitcoin be in the thousands or 1,000s at or near the time that silver goes to 38. Now, having said that, I don't have my phone in front of me, but I don't need to because I was looking earlier. Bitcoin tonight is in the $500 and something mid 500 or 583, 580 something range. He's also Cliff High spoken about that recently too, and said, again, we still have that $1,000 mark, but we did just see 1888 silver. So for the Webbot to call this particular number after silver's been pretty steadily and safely in the $20 mark, range, is interesting because that's a sizable drop to go down, yet it has happened. Webbot has also been phenomenally accurate with the movement of Bitcoin prices ever since late last year, especially. Just incredible. You will also recall the cruise ship fire recently I talked about. Webbot hit. Massive Webbot hit. The flooding. And someone brought that to my attention. He was like, hey, you were talking about the cruise ship thing and some of the descriptive keywords you were talking about with the helicopters and the rescue boats and all that stuff. He's like, what's happening simultaneously while the cruise ship was on fire and them being rescued? The Louisiana flooding. 30,000 people rescued, And I thought, helicopters, news choppers, he's right. Which is why I've told you numerous times, I use the same example because it was fantastic. Now I have another example. And the original example was the Wall Street protest, Occupy Wall Street, where people would be in this netting, these innocent bystanders netting and beheaded somehow. Like maybe it was an accidental thing from the netting goes wrong, And what had happened there was these 2 or 3 female ladies. I don't even think they had anything to do with the protest, if I recall. I don't remember, to be honest. But they were there, wrong place, wrong time, and there was this netting of orange color, and it trapped these women right during the Occupy protests. And I don't know if they got maced or something, as part of the thing. But while that was happening in Mexico, there was a rash of beheadings of women, females, who were, I guess, ratting out some of the corrupt, not necessarily corrupt, but drug, cartels, mafias. I was going to say corrupt. Of course, they're corrupt if you're into that business. But that's why the point being, these are 2 separate events happening at the same time, but the Webbot and Cliff's interpretation of it cannot differentiate about that. So You cannot say, oh, well, that's two separate things. Sometimes they just come in and it looks like it because it kind of looks related, and it says, well, that's what we think is going to happen. So that happened with the cruise ship. I'll just finish reading this just for the heck of it. Might as well. The market's entity continues to grow data, now almost all in the immediacy data types, that the insurance industry is going to be destroyed by the stagflation that will be settling in over global economic activity, or already has been so destroyed, as the data sets are suggesting, that a wave of bankruptcy and defaults is going through this industry beginning this summer and continuing through the rest of this year and most of next, as the various majors will be tottering, teetering, and reeling from the crashing economic burdens of negative rates, falling currencies, and escalating claims. The data sets are showing that the major banks, including the top 20 banks globally, are going to be rocked by failures across the rest of 2016. These failures are showing as being losses to the credit system and a major contributing component to the developing credit freeze. How many times have we talked about the Italian banks and some of the other European banks? They are in big, big trouble. I just talked to you just literally days ago about Deutsche Bank again for the millionth time, and how they said essentially, well, we gave the wrong numbers. Had we given the real numbers, it would have been epically bad for us, big time bad. So they didn't. So when we hear, oh, they passed a stress test, oh, great, they must be solid, they must be good to go. No, they're giving you their falsified data to give you the illusion that they're solvent and they're great and everything's fine. It's the opposite. I just read Canada passed a law for banker bail-ins over there, except should you have more than 100,000, which is typical, FDIC, theirs is called the CDIC, I think, insurance. If you have $100,000 or less in your bank account, you're safe. No bail-in for the bank out of your money, you're good. But if you got more than that, maybe you had 500K in there, you just lost 400K, you get 100K because that's insured. But you didn't actually lose it. You get shares of the bank that you bailed in. So in other words, you get a forced stock market thing. You get to, stocks or shares in this bank that's failing miserably, and they took your 400K. So that's like you looking at the charts today. Oh, those aren't looking good. Hell no, I'll never invest in that. No way. Let me look over here at these. Yeah, these look a little more safe for me. I'm a little worried, but I'd rather go with these. And then all of a sudden, your money's just been taken out of your account online and dumped over there where you just got done saying, this is horrible, I would never invest in this. Oh, congratulations, you own shares of this bank. Wow. You own shares of would you invest in an insolvent company? Absolutely not. But they're at least letting you know, well, at least you get something out of it. We're not just stealing your money. You're getting a stinking empty, bag that formerly had a big pile of, poop in there. So, anyways, I wanted to just talk about this for a minute because I saw the 1888 tonight. Someone had emailed me. I've been going back and forth with them on my Realist News private chat thing, a little bit back and forth. And I said, let me just go ahead and do a video tonight for tomorrow morning discussing this because it actually hit 1888 and we're not talking about SLV. So, stay tuned. We're certainly Bitcoin's not 1,000 yet, so we got some more precursors to look out for before that happens. Take care.